Dear students, dear Model UN Secretariat members, dear members of UN Association of Russia, it is my both honor and privilege to be able to introduce to you Mr. Dali Belgazmi, World Food Program Regional Director for the Middle East, North Africa, Central Asia and Eastern Europe, a man who has been the driving force behind this project for many years. He is the person who knows the whole history of how we got to where we are today, the stories, the challenges, and the little-known secrets. His various positions held have been in increasing levels of responsibility at country, regional, and global levels. He joined the United Nations World Food Program in 1991, serving as an advisor in Sudan, director of Djibouti, Yemen, and Cameroon, as a regional director for Central Africa and Central Asia. His former position was Director of World Food Program Office in Geneva, Switzerland, which he held from August 2002 until August 2008. He has managed refugee and IDP programs as well as development projects during his 16 years field career with World Food Program. This followed 16 years of service with Catholic Relief Services. He has proven to have an innovative and successful track record through all stages of his career, which demonstrates his extensive leadership, management, and his commitment to the United Nations. And I can tell you that this commitment was for 32 years. This outstanding person also holds a Master of Sociology and Bachelor degree in Nutritional Science for the Nutrition Institute of Tunis. He initiated a master program for students on perception of World Food Program activities in Palestine, Sudan, Yemen, Iran, Nairobi, Niger, and India. So, dear students, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Dali Belgazmi.
Well, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. I used to teach at Geneva University and American Webster University in Geneva, as well as I have developed a model of humanitarian affairs for the master degree in Political Science Institute of Grenoble, where I was giving 8 hours a month courses to the student at the level of master degrees. Then we do have these students, you know, in our office for 6 months internship. Then we expose them to go to the field to see our operation, which was mentioned by my colleague here, to Palestine, to Niger, to India, and other places in the world, to support them to prepare their dissertation for the Master on World Food Program activities. So you are very important for me. And I remember I have finalized my PhD when I was at the age, I will not mention it, you know, on sociology. And I feel always as part of the student. And youth generation are the future. So you are very important. I did not prepare special course, as it is very short, 1 hour interaction. I just would like to brief you, see also your interest, what you would like to discuss related to the World Food Program. WFP, World Food Program, has been created in '64, and we are all today operational in 92 countries. We have something like 13,000 staff worldwide. Gender, it's very important for the World Food Program, and I am pleased to see here it's quite balanced, you know, the class between young women and men. That's very good to note that. And we have a budget of something like $4 billion, you know, per year to support worldwide fighting hunger. The world is changing. I don't know if you know the Millennium Development Goal. Who knows the MDGs? What is the number one? MDG number one? Okay. Poverty, to reduce poverty and hunger by 2015, to halve, you know, by 50%. We are unfortunately far. You have the politician, you know, the head of states, They will meet in New York, they will meet in Rome, you know, and they will go, let's make a commitment. It's very nice to go to the world and to say, we are going to halve hunger and poverty by 2015. Beautiful. But in fact, you know what's happening, if you look to a few years ago, the number of hungry in the world used to be 850 million, you know, person worldwide. Today, instead of reducing hunger, the number has increased by 1 billion. This is quite in contradiction with the MDG. So we are facing, you know, very critical situation worldwide related to the impact of food prices. 2008 was a very difficult year for the world when the prices of food has suddenly, you know, increased, and the worldwide cereal reserve has reached the level of 18%, which was very alarming, okay? And then you have the speculation in Chicago, you have the speculation in Geneva, that they have made the whole process of trade complicated, and the lack of availability of food have made many countries very vulnerable. 2008, and that follow, you know, economic and financial crisis. So this was really very critical to the world, to the stability of the world. You see many demonstrations that took place. People, they went to the street. We need bread, we need dignity, and we need respect. Bread was not available, and the government were facing, you know, a lot of problems. That was the situation in 2008, and we thought that we are going to have a better life. Then because of climate change, Russia, it's a big producer. Are you all Russian here? So I have to behave. Russia, because of what happened related to the drought, Mr. Putin decided to ban the export of cereal. What happened, you know, flood in Pakistan, problem in Australia, another big producer of food. What happened in Vietnam. All these countries, they are huge producers of cereal, and all of them, because of the impact of climate change, were forced to ban the export of food commodity. So it came to a situation today where I can see the spectrum of new food crisis which will affect the world, combined with political decisions, and I will come to that on my intervention. So increase of food prices, reserve of cereal, less export, and the trade. People, they do not respect, you know, the decisions. In addition to that, good news for Russia, which they are negotiating the to add Russia as a member of the World Trade Organization. You know, are you aware about Russia is a strong candidate to WTO, World Trade Organization? You know, and that will have certain implications, you know, for the regulation of agriculture, for regulation of many others, you know, and for me, it's a good step, you know, for the world trade balance. So this is where we are. And within this new environment, you know, as I am covering, you know, North Africa, Middle East, are you aware about what's happening in North Africa, Middle East these days? It started, North Africa, it's Mauritania, then you go forward to Morocco, Algeria, then you go a little bit further to Libya, then you go a little bit further to Egypt, you know. This is large North Africa. I'm Tunisian from South Tunisia. Because of the power there, because of the dictatorial regime, because of no respect of human rights, the people, they decided to change the government. They decided to change the whole structure. The party, they decided to change, you know, the people in the provinces, the governors, they decided to change everything, and it was a real revolution. The implication of that, are you hearing about problem in Libya with Gaddafi? You are following? So Libya did follow that revolution stage. Egypt, you know, one of the president who has received, you know, diploma here is Hosni Mubarak from Egypt. Do you know the name Hosni Mubarak? Yes. Okay. So Mr. Mubarak and Mr. Ben Ali in Tunisia and out, and I think Mr. Gaddafi is following, and then Syria, it's getting, you know, worst. In addition to that, Yemen, Ali Abdullah Saleh. So it's kind of a new evolution and complete transformation of the society where women and men, they have said enough. And they use the word in French, dégage, get out from here, you know, to their leaders. So in this very critical phase, we as the World Food Programme, we have the obligation to not let people starve. In Tunisia border with Libya, which is a very, very difficult border, we have seen something like 400,000 people from different nationality crossing the border. It was quite, from Libya border, getting to Tunisia. It was quite very challenging. We have created kind of kitchen, like the canteen you have here, but you cannot compare. You know, where we were able to deliver up to now 1,700,000 hot meal breakfast, lunch and dinner. Breakfast, milk, cheese, you know, bread, and hot meal, you know, rice, spaghetti, macaroni with meat or something, to not let people starve crossing the border from Libya to Tunisia. Tunisia, it's a poor country with very limited resources, but beautiful country if you wish to visit. Many Russia, they go to Tunisia, okay? And inside Tunisia, we are supporting also the Tunisian returnees with food assistance in kind. And we are developing $68 million project in safety net where of the integration of the returnees and help in job creation, help them to get also appropriate training to be able to face the crisis. So that's our operation in Tunisia. In Libya, because of the war situation, we brought vessel from abroad to Benghazi and to Misrata. Misrata, it's under siege town. And that, it was really something very difficult. I remember when, and I was responsible for the movement of the vessel, when we decided to move the ship, the vessel, from Malta to Misrata, it's like, you know, President, I guess, here with the, it was Nikita Khrushchev, when they have sent Gagarin to the first man going to the space, you know, and they were in the operation room looking to the event, and how Gagarin, you know, will go to the space. It was a big event. For me, moving a vessel from Malta to Misrata, Misrata was under really siege, was fighting, heavy fighting. We had that feelings, you know. We were moving the boat, you know, and following the boat. NATO, we don't want them to interfere because we don't want NATO to be part of the humanitarian affairs, and we don't want the intervention of, you know, the army, and that they will use humanitarian reasons to be able to be in the ground and occupied Libya. We, and I said, we are not going to ask for any escort, we are not going to ask for any military support. So it was quite challenging. Then when the vessel reached Misrata, it's like, you know, my heart started boom, 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 boom. You know, it's big responsibility. And our concern was how to get the food, medicine, and we have 2 doctors on the vessel to Misrata to support, you know, the need of the people. And when we start offloading, you know, we have also an operation room. It was a big victory. It's something small, but the impact was something very tense, something very hot in ourselves. And that was a real challenge. So we are bringing food with vessel. We create United Nations Humanitarian Air Serve, you know, people in Libya, except the NATO aircraft, they don't have the right to fly. So we are flying, and that is another challenge. We are moving from Malta, we are moving from Cairo, we are moving from Tunisia to Libya to allow humanitarian actors, to allow donors community, to allow non-governmental organizations to be able to fly. And that you need to put on the plane, also some specific, system to be able to detect missiles. It's a real logistic. The World Food Programme is also acting on behalf of the whole United Nations as the logistic leader. We are dealing with all logistics all around the world, in Afghanistan, in Somalia, in Korea, North Korea, everywhere in the world we are leading. We are also leading the world on telecommunication. I come back to Libya, so we are opening that corridor. Then we open the corridor from Egypt, a place called Saloum, and we are opening a corridor from Tunisia, and we are buying in Egypt, we are buying in Tunisia food to support the Libyan economy. The situation in Libya is bad, and the Russia government, they did take a decision to not allow any troops on the ground along with China. And we as United Nations and we as humanitarian, we fully agree with the Russian decision, about not to allow, I'm not promoting Mr. Putin election, but it is, it is a reality that we believe that we need to keep the United Nations and the organization within their duty. So that's a real challenging. Then the situation also is very critical in Egypt, and Egypt, Libya, and Tunisia. They are going real through strong transformation, deep transformation of the society, and you will see. I don't know if you remember. I think all of you have more than 20 years, no? Who has less than 20 years today? Wow. So we have not seen Russia 20 years ago. Russia 20 years ago was really critical, the evolution and the transformation. Similar today in the Middle East and North Africa, where everything is changing. It will be election this summer, and you will see the election will be rejected. It will be, another revolution, and the stability and the instability will affect the rest of the world. You have many Muslim countries, and then you have the fundamentalists, Muslim. They are growing, in the region, and that represents, something. I have nothing, I'm myself Muslim, and I have nothing against Islam, but one thing I'm against, any fundamentalism, and you don't have, organization that they pretend they are moderate Muslim does not exist, Either, you are a normal citizen like Christian or Jewish or Muslim, or there are also fundamentalist Jewish, there are Orthodox, very, Catholic, also fundamentalist, and you have very fundamentalist Muslim. And these people, they may represent, somehow some threat for the future in the next 10, 15 years if the world will not support this transformation in North Africa and the Middle East. Like Russia 20 years ago, Russia, it's a great country with a lot of resources. Portugal and Spain, during their revolution a few years ago, they did receive a lot of support from the European country, investment, development of economy, social welfare. Today, when you look that 80% of the people in the world, they don't have social protection, it's matter of concern. When you see that one child from 7, die because of problem of malnutrition, it's worrying. When you count, each 6 seconds a child die, it's matter of concern. So we are living in a difficult environment. And when you see, for example, that in 2050, you know, the population of the world will be 9 million. We are 6.7, I guess, billion and 9 billion. When you need in 2050, you know, an increase of the world production by 70%, you know, it's something. You are going to be here for 2050. I'm not going to be here for 2050. And you will see the world how. So we need really to change the way our conception of agriculture. Many countries in Africa, they lack clear policy on agriculture development, clear policy on prioritization of agriculture, clear policy on the way forward to prepare the new generation, to give them hopes, to give them the opportunity of work, the lack of democracy, the lack of transparency. And what makes me really, you know, something that I do not understand, I still do not understand how that Ben Ali or Mubarak, they have billions of dollars abroad. That I do not understand. Who did facilitate the transfer? Why this money has been deposited? You know, who paid for this? You know, this money is coming from the people blood in the country. And then, you know, the world, they say, these are dictators, they are corrupted. Let's move forward for a better world, and let's move forward to have a clear agriculture policy, and let's move forward to fight hunger. Because what's happening, if you can look at the first 1,000 days of a child, the woman pregnant, then lactated, it's vital. And most in Africa, and most of the cases, you have women with anemia, lack of iron. You have women with deficiency on micronutrient. It's really issue. Then you have a new generation of children. They are born malnourished, and they grow malnourished. They have to walk. You know, I'm delighted to see the quality of the university. I was teaching in many universities in the world, and this is something remind me of the Catholic university in Rome, which is first-class university, but I'm delighted to see the quality that you have here. This has nothing to do with the rest of the world. When you go to look at university, to go at primary school, the kids are sitting, you know, on the floor, you know, doing like this, you know, and they don't have, you know, something to write with. They listen, and that's really where we are. So we need to prepare the rest of the world for our own stability and invest in human resources, invest on education. It's very important. WFP is very committed. We have excellent school feeding program. We are feeding 20 million people in the world, in primary school, in kindergarten. We have new tools today that we are working with. If you take, for example, the refugee operation in Syria, we have a voucher program. The voucher program, we send through the server an invitation to 120,000 Iraqi refugees in Syria that they left Iraq because of the war, and they are refugees in Syria. We send them an invitation 10 days before they go to specific shop. And 3 days before, we remind them with the server through their mobile phone, electronic voucher system. You know, we send you an invitation, you have your mobile, they will give you a code number, and they will tell you day so, time so, you go to a selected shop like the shops you find in Moscow, similar. And you will go, and with that voucher, with the number you have, you will be able to purchase milk, fresh, to purchase eggs, to purchase rice, to purchase oil, to purchase specific food items, you know. And that we are providing, so we are providing people with appropriate food in order for them, you know, to have fresh food and to have food with dignity and respect. We used to bring bags, you know, and throw them on women. And we said, we love women. And the woman, you know, one bag and her back, you know, it's quite heavy. Today, the women will go like you to the shop, and they will buy fresh food. This is new tools WFP is developing. So we develop the economy, the private sector. He will increase his benefits. He will hire a new person. We are teaching him through, you know, appropriate tools with internet. We have computers. We have people, you know, we hire more people. That part of the new tools. We have a program we call it P4P, Purchase for Progress. We help small farms, ladies in agriculture small area to produce lentil. We help her to store the lentil, and the other one close to her, she will produce something else, and we try to get them together as an association, help them to improve their storage facilities, and then we buy from them. We help creation of income, we help creation of job, and we help the economy. WFP last year did purchase something like 3 million tons of food. We spent $1.5 billion mainly in Africa to support the economy. That's another thing that we are doing. We have created also in each country appropriate, and we are working with Russia on this as well, appropriate food, fortified food, that small quantity, but will give you the full protein, vitamin, minerals need, and these are locally produced by private sector in Tunisia, in Syria, in Yemen, in Palestine. I'll give you a few examples about OPT. The Minister of Education, with the Women Association, they create 10 associations of women. In each association, they have 13 women. The women, they were preparing fortified bread with iron. They prepare themselves. It's an income for them. They have a bakery and they produce bread. They are preparing fortified date bars. And the milk, it's coming from the dairy in Ramallah, in Palestine. So the project is developed by the Palestinian, for the Palestinian, funded by the World Food Program. Russia was a donor, you know, in our operation in OPT. I can give you many and many examples about the new tools. It's not just WFP is dumping food. That's not true. WFP is supporting the development of economy. WFP is not giving the fish, but it's really teaching the people how to fish, because I know some of you will start thinking, you know, you are giving food. No, we are helping people to produce food. We move food from one area in a country to another area. We move food from one country to another country in the same region. We have very cross-fertilization program on increasing the production and helping the people that they are in need. WFP is funded on voluntary basis. We don't have a budget that country will say, I'm going 1 million to WFP, the other has committed. So we made appeals, like the appeal for North Africa, which was something for 3 months, 40 million. We did receive 60%. It's not sufficient. We have, people will provide their funding based on the quality of our work. We are considered as the most, because I'm from WFP, as the most and the best, you know, organization in the world on humanitarian affairs. We are the biggest. We have young women. Masha is our leader. She's Russia. I mean, 29 years old, and she is the head of our office in Armenia. This is something great. And she was studying in the United States, and here she's born in Moscow. I have another colleague, just, you know, from, we can introduce himself, you know, come in, who is leading our Russia and the CIS country, you know, relation with the World Food Program. We have young generation with us, okay? So we invest on the future, and we have representative also for each country. So these voluntary donations are based on what we can produce and based on the quality of our work. Russia is an important donor. They did provide, for example, Armenia with $8 million. They are increasing their support to the World Food Program up to $30 million. We work with Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, and we work with Emercom, great organization. We distribute food. We are using Emercom planes. We rent also Russia Antonovs, the biggest one, the biggest plane in the world. We do airdropping. We move food by monkeys, by elephant, by all means that we can find possible, trucks, everything by human being. The determination in the Afghan war, it was something incredible, you know, this Afghan war in 2001, and I was regional director. You know, we are coordinating with the military, with the intelligence service. We are coordinating the move of our trucks, and only one thing counts for us: the need of the people. And when you look to these people and you said, "I will never let them starve," you are not afraid. I remember I was one day in my office, and my fellow in Kabul called me, and he said, "Mr. Belgasmi, we have a problem." What is the problem? It was Friday, 4 p.m. He said, "We have two non-food items in our warehouse. The two non-food items were anti-craft. At that time, it's guns to shoot planes. And Taliban, they put them in WFP warehouse. And my representative there called me to inform me about what's happening. I told him, keep quiet, don't tell anybody. 1 hour later, I receive a call, this is real history, from my counterpart who is American. And he is living in Marriott Hotel in Islamabad, and he said, Dali, can you come for a beer? And I said, I'm really busy, I don't have time for a beer, you know. And he said, Dali, I think the beer is waiting for you, what about 7 p.m.? He told me what time I should go, and he offered me the beer. At that time when he insisted, I understood that he was aware about the communication I have with Kabul. I was suspicious. I said, why the guy is insisting? Maybe there's other problems. So I went there to his room, and I saw he has a cable in the table. It was like this, and he said, sit, I'm going to the bathroom. I decided not to look at the paper. I was sitting normally. Then he looked at me when he was going to the bathroom, and he came back and he put the cable in front of me. And it was transcript, verbatim, of my communication with my director from Kabul, and it was picked up by the satellite system, you know, because it was state of war. I have said, he have said, and all this. Then he came back and he said, this is classified cable. I did not give it to you. You have read it and you are not allowed, it was on the table. I said, okay, I have put 5,000 tons in the warehouse in Kabul, you know, and it's no way to let you, you know, bomb the warehouse. You know, and at that time, the helicopters, American helicopters, start flying in Kabul. And for the army, it's no choice. You don't play. It's no way. They will decide to bomb and destroy the warehouse. So I was begging him. It cost me 1 month under fight, and it was snowing, and the trucks, you know, impossible, you know, instead of getting to Kandahar and getting to Tora Bora or getting to any places that you hear about it, you know, in the world, it's a real challenge in itself. He said, I cannot guarantee I will do my best. Next day, 5 o'clock in the morning, I received a call from my fellow, and he said, the non-food item, they left, you know, the warehouse. And it was like a victory. And the guy, my friend, the American who came at 7:30, do you want to have a coffee? I said, no, I want to have a beer. So that, for example, gives you an idea about the kind of life we have and the kind of challenge we are facing. We are committed to participate and to contribute very strongly to the MDG #1. I am encouraging a lot, you know, internship program with students. As I mentioned in Geneva, and I'm still doing that in Egypt now, we hire young women, men, master's degree, you know, to come spend a few months, to go to Palestine, to go to Syria, to go to Armenia and elsewhere, to spend few months for their training. I participate on the creation of a model at the University of Webster University in Geneva, on humanitarian affairs, did similar creation of model at the University of Grenoble and similar at the University of Geneva. Along with, do you know Jean Ziegler? Did you hear about his crazy socialist, very famous in Switzerland? But we do work together. We invest, as I said, in new generation, Masha André, and more young people. And I think most of you are students at doing political and international organization, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's very good. You are doing the right thing.
Most of them model UN Secretariat. They are very well motivated and they are aware of the United Nations system. Yeah.
Okay, and you can ask. I stop here because I would like to interact, you know. And if you have also questions to André and to Maria Lukanova, mostly welcome. It's better that we interact than I continue to speak. I just have made very small introductory of the World Food Program. And I was selling WFP, we are the best, as you can see. We are the power, we are this, but it is true. Over to you.
So, thank you a lot, Professor Belgazmi. And I would like to ask our audience, because of you have a chance to ask a real person from the field, you know, from the field of North Africa, from the field of Middle East. So it's a real chance for you to know that what is going on there, and of course about the World Food Progress and activities in this very particular region. So please.
What are you studying?
My name is Alina Bogatkova. I'm the fourth year student of international relations. I'm now finishing my bachelor's degree, and I was the Secretary General of Moscow International Model UN this year. And as Mr. Borisov just said, we are really very motivated to join UN sometime in our future. But my question somehow touches upon the work of your staff, and we know that WFP staff has to work in really dangerous parts of the world, like where conflicts are unfolding. And some days ago, it was reported that 2 men in Ethiopia were killed, and therefore I wanted to ask a question. Are such cases frequent? Is it dangerous? Is it really dangerous to work? Are the WFP personnel often attacked by some rebels? And how are these people protected? Thank you.
Thank you, Alina.
New questions will arise after.
Good, thank you very much. The safety of the staff and the beneficiaries are very important for the World Food Program. We have United Nations Department for Security Services based in New York, and we have our own security department in Rome. We have security officers everywhere in hot places, Libya, Tunisia, Egypt these days, in my office, Syria, Yemen, OPT, to talk about the region. The safety of the staff, it's very important for the executive director. Her name is Josette Chern, she's American. And it's very important for us, for the whole WFP. It is pity and it's unfortunate that there are unpredictable, events that you cannot stop. Violence, terror, it's horrible. Pakistan, Peshawar, they bomb our office, warehouse. In Pakistan, in Islamabad, in the capital, chemicals get inside the WFP and blow up himself. few colleagues died. Ethiopia, Somalia, Yemen, everywhere in the world, we lost very important colleagues that they were fighting hunger and fighting, you know, doing their best to provide assistance. We are trying the best that we can, you know, to move as much as we can, taking into account the safety of the people. An example, Taliban in 2001, they decided, we have very important corridor called Quetta corridor, if you follow Afghanistan, and going to Kandahar, and the Taliban, they have closed the corridor, the road. And we have 6 million people starving. United Nations has decided that Afghanistan is under phase 5, no access, all United Nations or NGO out. And I did take a very huge risk myself, without any clearance, to go inside and to look at how to resolve this issue, you know, because what was important for me, it was the 6 million people, the dedication of our staff, the dedication of young women and men, you know, we are the front line. Either we move or we are scared, we stay in Rome and said, we are going to die. So that we are taking all measures, you know, to protect our staff, measures in the buildings, in the cars, in our operation. You can't violate, I mean, what is the issue? It's 1 second. In the bad place, and you cannot decide, you don't know. So you are gone, like what's happened in Moscow, like what's happened, you know, in New York, like what's happened everywhere in the world. You know, that's what we need to fight. And the only way we need to fight is through education, through socioeconomic development, and through tolerance. And education. This has to stop. You know, violence and killing, you know. WFP and other non-WFP, yes, we are facing a real threat. And taking the most appropriate measures for that.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much for your speech. My name is Nikita Rayevsky. I'm studying international law, first year. I had the chance to run through your biography, and I've discovered that you worked in Africa, in Sudan, a few years ago. South Sudan is set to become independent on the 9th of July of the present year. In this regard, I'd like to ask you about the future of this region, the role of the future Sudan, maybe both parts, the north and south, in Africa, and what will happen to its oil. What I mean is that the United States may try to control this country and, of course, its oil reserves, like they did in Iraq, Afghanistan, and now trying to do in Libya. Thank you.
We can talk. We are in academic environment. If I am elsewhere, I would not have said many things I did mention here. Nikita is a very famous name for me. I was in Sudan in '91, as you can see. It was a very difficult time, you know, where the North get the South and try the South. They are either Christian or they don't have a religion and stuff like that. And the North was very Muslim. Omar al-Bashir, Turabi, you know, very famous names in Sudan, if you know that. They tried to Islamize the South. And I was, you know, looking at that event, and I was in charge with the internally displaced people and the refugees in the office. And they have seen this, and I said, this is not possible. You know, it's abnormal that in a country, one region would like to push another region and change their religion. religion for me, it's freedom. Jewish, Christian, Muslim, you don't believe on God, it's you and your business, with yourself. It cannot be imposed, and I have seen that. And since then, the situation did not at all improve, it was worse, it's becoming. I think, frankly, the division of Sudan into, personal view, I think it's a good one. It will have, you did not touch on the Nile and its implication and how the South, will move to that, and the oil, you mentioned about the oil, I come to that. Yes, in July 9 or 15 of this year, North and South will be divided. You will have president in the North, you will have president in the South. As they are two independent countries, we are not going to keep our office now. It's in Khartoum. We are going to have an office in Juba. We have already an office in Juba, and we have director in Juba. But the director in Juba is supervised by the director in Khartoum. That will cease, and the Juba office will report to our regional office in Africa. And the Khartoum office will be reporting to my office, as part of the Middle East. So that decision, we are looking at it, and we need to wait for the whole United Nations to come together with joint decision, but we will do it. I'm sure it's on the agenda and the table. We'll have program for South, program for North. These are completely independent countries. It's remain very fragile situation. It will take some time to have a good and smooth implementation. We are feeding 3.9 million people in Darfur, for example. It's not an easy task. And the human rights, their conditions. It's just horrible. Women are raped when they go out of the camp, children, and it's just an horrible situation, and continue to be. And I hope with this division, it will get more stability for Darfur and other regions. On the oil, I will not speculate, on that about your statement about the U.S. Government. When we meet one-to-one, we can discuss that. I don't know. I really don't know about how that stuff will move. The U.S. government, they are...
Especially we have broadcasted.
the U.S. government, they have... they are very big donor to the World Food Program, and the part related to the politics, it's another part. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So let me do Daniela first, then you, okay? So Daniela, please.
My name is Maria.
Maria.
Okay. Good afternoon. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for your interesting speech. My name is Maria Nosikova, and I am a second-year student of the Institute of International Economic Relations. And it's universally acknowledged that the United Nations provide developing countries, especially Africa, with aid by selling food at dumping prices. And it leads to the fact that local producers, they can't compete with American farmers. It's obvious, and the local agriculture still stay underdeveloped. And my question is, what's your opinion on this fact, and will this practice ever be stopped? Thank you.
Thank you, Masha. I think in 2001, the Doha round, they start negotiating, agriculture, and then within that they start negotiating food aid. Doha 2001. It's a failure up to now, the whole process. They did not reach an agreement, okay, in WTO in Geneva. In 2001, the food aid volume was 15 million tons. 1.5 million tons. Today, it's half. That was true when PL 480, Public Law 480, Marshall, after the Second War was created to support the development of Europe. The food aid did play a strong role on that. And it was true that it was a lot of excess production in the United States. And that just take food, take food, take food, take food. Everywhere in the world, you know, everybody was dumping food, you know, in the world at the cost of the small farms. But that was the old days. Today, within WTO, you know, restriction, and there are, if you look at WTO and you look at Annex L on food aid, you will see the new disciplines that the WTO member state, they would like to impose. To have free trade, to stop food monetization, to limit food to emergency. There are a lot of new rules. So the United States or the European, and in the past, coming backwards, we used to have 90% of our food in kind. Today, we are competing with cash, and we have more cash than in kind. Over 50% of, we buy food, over 50%. I did mention that we bought with 1.5 billion last year food, 3 million tons, mainly in Africa, in developed country as well, but mainly in developing with our purchase for progress and helping small farms. That's true. Small ladies mainly. Gender was important. So today, the American or other nation, they are no longer dumping food because it's against dollar value. The American and the others, they are buying from their farms. The issue is on subsidize the food. And when you look at moving from 15 million to 7.5 million, and when you look the 7.5 million, it's divided between WFP and other humanitarian actors. And when you look that we would like to fight hunger, you know, and half hunger by 2015, and we are reducing, you know, the volume of food aid, it's quite worrying. So I do not think, and I'm very honest, that there are no more dumping. It's against dollar value. That's what's happening there. I mean, WTO negotiation, it's another story. Who is right, who is wrong? And you have the BRIC, I mean, Brazil and other countries, and they are divided on different groups, G1, G2, G3, G20 alliance. Russia is going to be part of that. What will be the implication for Russia product? I don't know. I don't know, because the negotiation, they have never been finalized, and it will take some time. The world is divided.
Thank you.
Mr. Belgazmi, thank you for your speech. My name is Alek Reshikov. I'm a student of the first year student of international relations. And we all know that the current situation in North Africa is very complicated, especially in Libya. A number of NATO members are participating in an operation against Gaddafi, in an aircraft operation. And do these countries provide any humanitarian help through the World Food Program for Libya? And what are the main donors who provide humanitarian aid for North Africa through the WFP?
There are mainly the US government, Swiss, I think Canada, Australia. They are few. European Union, of course, no doubt about that. I'm here also. I'm meeting with different Russian, you know, government department also to advocate. My job is also to advocate for WFP, but also for the region, looking for more support. As I stated before, we have made this operation in the beginning, you know, for $40 million. We did receive 60%, and now we have increased for the next 3 months up to $100 million, and I hope the world will be able to come and to provide assistance. It's always like that, you know, about, you know, funding. As I mentioned, it's voluntary organization and voluntary funding. We make the difference by the quality of what we deliver. So these are the main countries: U.S. government, European Union. Mm-hmm. Welcome.
Please.
Thank you for your wonderful speech. My name is Alexander Ulansky. I'm from the 8th form from school number 1415, and I'm just 14 years old, but I'm really interested in the program of the United Nations. And my question will be so. In Libya, there's a revolution, and I know that there is a UN office on the territory of the rebels. But how UN is helping people, civil people in the territory of Muammar Gaddafi? And are there any problems with food, water, or something like that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. It's a beautiful question. In fact, I have been asked this question by some journalists. Everywhere in the world, Afghanistan, we are working with Taliban, with all parties. In Palestine, for example, you have Ramallah. That's the official recognized government authority, Palestinian authority, and you have a place called Gaza, is under the power of Hamas. The donor, they will tell you, if you talk to Hamas, you are finished. Hamas, it's a recognized terrorist organization, of course. You know, our concern, we move with our full, strong humanitarian, you know, belief and in respect with humanitarian principles. No politics, and I'm really that kind of person. I put the need of the people in front of me, and I don't care who is managing the country. Yes, we have staff in Benghazi. We are working with the different party that they are there, National Council, Libyan Transition National Council. We don't have any official relation with them, but bringing food to Benghazi and bringing food to Misrata, who are you going to talk to? Do you have somebody else? We are not recognizing them because United Nations, they only recognize the regime still of Gaddafi. And the United Nations Resolution 1970 and 1973 stipulate to protect civilians, okay, and to give access to humanitarian affairs. That part, as I mentioned, we are moving food from Saloum, Egypt border, and by vessel to Benghazi and to Misrata. Our plan is to put 25,000 tons. Since the beginning of the war, or the civil war, we were able to move something like 6,000 tons inside Libya. We have stocks everywhere. And then you move to the part of Gaddafi now, as you mentioned his name, you know, Tripoli, and then Zintan, and then the whole mountain, Green Mountain, you know, Nafusa, which is becoming, you know, very famous. Today I received an email from my staff asking me to authorize airdropping, you know, in Nafusa. That would be very dangerous to do. So we are working also. I am in touch with the Libyan Prime Minister myself, you know, to coordinate with him, and we moved food from Tunisia, you know, 2 borders inside these mountains under the Gaddafi authority. We are working with all parties and facing a real challenge, security and access problem, to be able to move as much as we can. It's a heavy logistic, and as I said, we have open United Nations humanitarian air service to allow people to move from one place to another.
Honorable Mr. Belgazmi, thank you very much for finding time to meet us and for answering our questions. My name is Kristina Kashfulina. I'm the second-year student of the Faculty of International Relations. My question will be from a bit different sphere, from the sphere of Palestine Authority. I would like you to be so kind to comment on the following claim. Some critics and analysts, well, they state that as long as the World Food Programme and other United Nations-related agencies are going to, well, practically save the humanitarian situation on the territory of the Palestinian Authority, the local populations, well, the local population will not be stimulated to create their own sustainable economy. It will not be able to develop themselves. So how do you personally treat this kind of conclusions? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Christine, OPT, it's occupied Palestinian territory. It's quite an interesting place, you know. I will show you, you know, give you. This is, for example, Gaza. Did you have been there? Okay. Who visited Israel or Palestinian occupied Palestine? Okay. You have Gaza, you have Ramallah, you have Beit Lahem, you have Hebron. These are Palestinian towns. Surrounding each town, you have strong wall and very sophisticated cameras to control movement, and you have very small exits under the control of the Israeli. There are no communication between here and here and here and here or here and here. Everything has to go through the Israeli special authorization, and special authorization are provided, you know, for special case. And they can stop, for example, Ramallah minister or President Abbas to move from Ramallah. They have the power. You cannot get in and get out without the Israeli authorization. This is the occupied Palestinian territory. Okay? Gaza is here. They have a border with Egypt, and the Egyptians, they are constructing wall there as well. You know, and this border is authorized for medical evacuation and medical supply from the Egyptian side. Other than that, you go through Karem Shalom, through Israel, and you have specification how to get inside Gaza. We, as the World Food Programme, we work very hard in Gaza. The economy here and the food security, it's really very critical. Everywhere. They got food through the tunnel, and they pay huge tax. Everything is imported, either from Israel or from the tunnel, right? So we are bringing in kind food because people, really, it's a matter of survival. And we are doing everything possible to promote local production. We have a voucher program where we encourage milk to be produced. We encourage yogurt to be produced. We encourage ladies to produce eggs, you know, and have more chicken. So we are supporting the economy. But you have no choice there except to continue to provide in-kind food aid. In many countries, we don't provide any more in-kind food aid because we would like to work on teaching them how to fish. There are cases where you cannot teach them 100%. You teach them how to fish, but you give them as well the fish in order you subsidize for all losses. We don't have a program in Ramallah because they are quite doing very well. We coordinate because of the Palestinian Authority. They are there. But in Hebron, for example, it's quite very critical situation, very, very difficult situation. And I tell you a story. Hebron is a tough place. I was walking in Hebron, and we had escort, and the military, the Israeli military, it's under military, you know, power. They stopped us to check, and okay, went through, and then I walked on a school, female school, beautiful, young Palestinian generation, and to reach the school, you have very small walking, you know, road on the mountain. The Israeli family will come and destroy the road, and then for 1 day or 2 days, the kids cannot go to the school. And the Palestinian women will come and construct again the road. So distract, construct, distract, construct, distract, construct. I mean, who is paying for that? I decided that this school we will provide food aid to the school because it become a protection for the young, girls, to have the protection of United Nations, and that we can also fight, and said we are going to provide, the food to the school and give them chance that this road does not be distract. So this is also the condition there. Yes, it's matter of emergency there, and we hope that now I think the Palestinian Hamas and they are talking to each other, and I hope it's pity that George Mitchell resigned, but it's the end of his. I think, and Tony Blair is also trying, to improve the economy. The Israeli, they start to allow also exportation of food and other items from Gaza and from OPT. The stabilization of that region will allow also stabilization of the rest of the world. It's amazing. Masha was with me to OPT, and she has visited most of these places. It's very, very alarming.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Again, question from me. When you answered my question, you mentioned resolution number 1937, in which it said that 73, in which it said that we must protect civilians. And do you know that when NATO bombers bombed Tripoli, they killed lots of people, more than 1,000? Do you know that?
Give me the answer yourself. I really have no comments on that, What do you want me to tell you? We regret any civilian, that it goes without say, and that's the statement of the Secretary General of United Nations.
Thank you. Any more questions? Please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Belgazmi. And actually, I have wanted to ask a question to your colleagues.
Sure.
As they here, maybe they can tell us some words on their work and responsibility within the WFP, and also how did you get in this organization? Thank you.
So probably Maria first start. Yeah.
If you can introduce yourself, that would be great.
My name is, I will continue, of course, in English just for the sake of everybody's understanding. My name is Maria Lukyanova, and it's been 2 years that I am with the World Food Programme. I joined the organization during the presidency of the Russian Federation of the Executive Board. The way that WFP is governed, we have a secretariat that manages the operations that we have. And then we have an executive board made up of member states, and that is chaired in a rotational basis by different member states. So the year that I joined was the year of the presidency of the Russian Federation. And we did work a lot with the Russian government on growing and enlarging the relationship. So, it was basically a need that was there in the organization to come, and I was very privileged to, to come and to help with that. Since then, I have come to join the field, and I now work in Armenia, supervising our operation there. And we have a school feeding operation. We feed half of the primary school children in the Republic of Armenia. And what makes the project very interesting is that we work very closely together with the Armenian government in looking at how we will be making this project sustainable. So looking at the current situation, looking at where is the government and the Ministry of Education and Science in particular in being able to have a national school feeding policy and program, and putting together a very concrete plan of action and map of how what we are doing can lead to the government having their own sustainable programs. So that's what I do. I have a staff of 15 people that I supervise. We have program, we have logistics, you know, and we have all of the other support units within the office that we work together. So that's kind of brief introduction, explanation of what I'm doing and what I'm working on. And we're very grateful to have our regional director. He does cover, in addition to North Africa and Middle East, Central Asia, and East Europe. So CIS countries falling into the countries he supervises.
She is supervising me, but similar for Andrei.
So my name is Andrei Shirkov. I work as donor relations officer in headquarters in Rome. And my responsibility is, first of all, building stronger relations with Russia. Of course, WFP already established strong partnership with our country, but I suppose it's still not the whole potential that exists. Russia is, I think, potentially it's one of top 10 donors, maybe top 5 donors, because it really has capacity in agriculture, in finance, and it has responsibility for this part of the world, I would say, for the Middle East region, for CIS and other neighboring countries like DPRK. So Russia is very interested, not only from humanitarian considerations, I think, but from political considerations as well, to maintain stability there, to ensure development, and that is why it is doomed to building stronger and bigger relations with the World Food Program. And I'm responsible now for fostering, for forging this relationship. We are in the process of making new initiatives. As Mr. Belgazmi already mentioned, our main partner for many years was the Ministry of Emergencies, MCS, or Emercom of Russia, and it does a great job, but the most efficient, of course, it is in emergency operations. When somewhere in the world we have emergency, of course, Emercom is the first to respond, and it has a special financial reserve for that, and it cooperates with the World Food Program in this stuff. But we are also thinking about some cooperation in development projects, because this is something that is quite new for Russia. And in this particular aspect, I'm a little bit jealous, because other countries are already experienced and mature donors. They know how to do it, they know what they want. And Russia started successfully with the first targeted development project, the Armenian school feeding project, which is our pilot, and which will be the model to be replicated later in other countries. How to make a successful school feeding system in the country, how to make it sustainable, because really school feeding is a strategic investment in the future. People that do not deal with school feeding normally don't think a lot about it, but if you have a properly designed school feeding program, it is, let's say, it ensures better nutrition, better health, and better cognitive skills, so education, everything. Without school feeding, it's impossible to think of the future of the country. That's why Russia pays so much attention to these particular projects. And first of all, it is in Armenia, managed by Maria now. Later it will be replicated in other countries. So these are the kind of stuff that I'm dealing now. It's just a piece of...
Thank you. Let us finish this Q&A session, and I would like to give a floor for final words from Professor Dali Belgazmi. Please.
Thank you very much. I have been delighted to be with you. Adina, Nikita, all of you. I give you my assessment on the level of thinking. I was very impressed when I was in Switzerland with the deep way of the Swiss students. They think and they develop their thinking, assessment, evaluation, appraisal. And that was good assessment of the Swiss level of education. Then, when I moved to the region, and I have many countries, I start to look at the level of the student that they have been studying in Russia, you know, in Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Armenia, and they have Russian also, Andrei, Masha, and others. We had an office here that we closed. And they found out that the level of the staff in the CIS country in Russia is the best compared to the rest of the region that I am covering, far way better. This is, with your level, this has been, you know, confirmed to me today about the deep way of thinking and your interest, you know, international economic affairs, international political affairs, international relation affairs, your interest, you know, and your way of thinking, it's very impressive. So I am something proud, you know, of your level of thinking, and I think you are really representing the future generation for this country and for the world, because your international, you know, studying environment will allow you to move all around the world, and I feel proud of that, and congratulations for that. You are the best. Thank you.
So let us thank you, Mr. Belgazmi, for your time. Let us thank you from МГИМО University, from UN Association of Russia, from our activists. So thank you for very interesting and very practical information that you gave us, a real activity of your fruit program about your career. So we think that in the future you can see this very motivated students among the UN system, so among the international organizations and so on. And we thank you for your commitment to the United Nations and the fruitful program, and that you are really helping the world to survive. So thank you a lot.
I would like to mention that I would be also, if one or two of you is interested to have training, internship program, to come to Cairo or in the Middle East, we'll coordinate together. I'm willing to take one or two. Thanks.